I guess it's live now, so you'll see it. But people show up. People show up, especially because it's Black Friday, and they're all eating their leftovers and taking a break from their day when we shoot this. So
that Black Friday turkey sandwich is something else.
It's unbeatable. I made something last night with native fingerling potatoes and rough cut ham, which when they say rough cut, they kind of mean you just rip it with your hands and put it all in. And I made that with some of that and onions because Scratch Pad has evidently become a cooking show today, Jason. So you know why you use heavy metal as an intro is because all the business shows don't, and they seem so much wussier now comparatively. So I think that's why, Jason. Hey, Jason Keath, you run Social Fresh, which is for most people, besides a really awesome, you have an incredible newsletter and a great online presence. You run a series of live events, which no one can right now because it's the apocalypse. So I wanted you on to talk a little bit about your event that is now going on, which will be in just a handful of days, just because I think we should get the word out about it.
Thank you. Yeah, December 8th through 10th, Social Fresh 2020, all virtual. And we've got an amazing lineup of great speakers. I was just going through a bunch of the decks as we do, reviewing and giving feedback and working through it with some people. And I don't know if people were more smart this year or if I just haven't, I don't know what it is, but it just feels like such good content. I'm excited to get it out there.
People, I mean, if you think about it, you run the show, so you have to say nice things like that. But people have all this time where, they've been traveling around sort of saying their same old speeches. But I think people had time to kind of make up some new stuff and make up some good stuff. Is that what you're seeing reflected in those decks?
Yeah, I mean, most of our speakers are not professional speakers. They're, they're tacticians. They're getting their hands dirty in the trenches, doing the social media work. And most of them are not speaking on a regular basis. Some of them do occasionally, but most of them, this is, the percentage of speakers that come to us that have never spoken at a conference before is pretty high. So we put as much effort as possible into crafting the best deck that they can produce, the best presentation that they can produce. But, they have the knowledge, they have these insights, they have these amazing learnings from the work that they've done over 5 to 10 years in social media for big brands. And we are just helping them put it into a learnable format and an actionable format for folks.
There are lots of different live virtual events going on, and they have different formats. They have different things that people are going to do with them and all that, Jason. One important detail to talk about is the fact that this is a paid event. This is a real conference where you spend real money to go to it. And there's been a lot of freebies, but the freebies are almost always like user group kind of events. And do you want to talk just a little bit for a second about the difference between that and
Yeah, we didn't really know what to do when the pandemic started. We did an event that had a lot of free levels in June called Social Fresh X, and it was focused on the unknown and how your business is adapting in every way, especially social media and digital. And we had 500 free tickets. We had a bunch of people that bought really low level price tickets. Our conferences are usually around $1,200 average price point in person, 2 to 3 day event, right? Pretty standard for our competitors, for our format, for the amount of value you get out of it. This event, the average ticket price was probably $150 back in June, so much less. And we were able to reach a large variety of people. And we also didn't think we could do much more than that ticket price wise at that time, because, Adobe was coming out with their conference free, Salesforce is making their conference free, everybody's making their conference free. So we were trying to read the room a little bit. Be completely honest, that model is not sustainable for an event company. So we wanted to make sure we put a lot of effort into making a virtual event that played to the strengths of virtual and didn't force the kind of in-person things that you just can't accomplish. You can't accomplish online. It's a different format. There's some of the things can stay the same. Some of the things just have to adapt and pivot into what does work in virtual. So these tickets are about half of what our in-person conference is. And we've paid a lot of attention to our audience. We're also doing scholarship tickets for people that are out of work still, for people that can't afford but could still benefit from it because of the way the job market is, even for social folks. You wouldn't think a lot of social media people are out of work, but you think about airlines have social media employees, you think about hotels have social media employees, and those businesses still are struggling. So we're trying to adapt, keep it accessible, but we also have to make sure the business is sustainable. So the price is more than I think what you would see from a lot of free events out there, but it's for the value. It's actually probably allowing more people to attend that could usually attend. For instance, we're getting a lot of people from all over the world attending more
Right.
so than we usually would.
Right. Especially, like you said, it's about half of what it would be for the real event in person. Chloe says, I think free events are never as valued by customers the same way paid events are. I can
Yeah.
agree with that. I mean, I snuck in to a free event. I snuck into the back of Adobe by riding side saddle on someone else's ticket just because I wanted to watch just one segment of it. But that means that all of the work that Adobe put into it, and I just watched one thing because I wanted to see,
Yeah.
what Aquafina would say on an Adobe stage. Well made, I guess, but it's not the
Yeah.
same thing. Your business is about changing your business. Your business is about, the people who go here are the people who actually are practitioners and who are really important to really large companies and, mid-sized and growing companies. It's a different sell. Who are some of, and I know you can name them all pretty much, but like, who are some that you're just kind of like, I think you're really going to want to check out this one. And I know that's like saying who's your favorite kid, but I don't care.
Yeah. So one cool presentation is from Jenny's Ice Cream. Alex runs their social media over there, and they had this whole campaign this year focused around state fairs. They were rolling out a bunch of state fair food flavors as ice creams. It was going to be a big summer campaign, and all of a sudden they get to March and April, and all the state fairs start getting canceled one after another. So they all of a sudden lose a whole integration part of what they were going to do, and they pivoted to basically doing an Instagram first campaign around state fair themed games and interactions. And they have all of these kind of deep games that you can play in Instagram through around July and August, and through the roof engagement, some of their highest comment follow numbers that they've seen ever from a campaign. So it's a really well crafted kind of Instagram specific social campaign that was specific to COVID response that I think is really useful to learn from. And we also have a really cool copywriting panel. You've spoken and talked about writing for social media before, and have had some great insights. We've got a panel this year that has the former social for Delta talking about copywriting during the pandemic, the current person that writes for MoonPie on Twitter, a couple of nonprofit people in social media that are doing copywriting from kind of a more serious take, and just talking about how copy is very core to stopping people in the feed. Even if the content you're posting is video or images, having the copy that backs up the tone and the message, and a lot of social media managers are not trained marketers or are not trained copywriters, right? So they have to learn these skills. So giving them a few more, specific tactics that they can use to increase that skill set.
It's big stuff. It was when you were trying to explain how great the Jenny's one was, I immediately stopped listening because I was thinking I had Jenny's ice cream last year for the first time, and it is the most amazing ice cream I've ever eaten. And and all I heard was and I was thinking they had this ice cream called butter something, not like butter pecan, but like it tasted like it was a stick of butter inside of an ice cream, and I lost everything. But
they have like a whiskey, I think whiskey and pecan or something. They have a lot of great flavors. Yeah,
it's a great brand. And a well-spoken, greatly communicating brand. And that's, the thing that's always been great about yours is that it's a lot more practitioners and a lot fewer, stuffed shirts standing around saying things. What is the technology, if you want to talk about that for a minute, or what way? Some people have had good experiences with virtual events. Some people have not had good experiences with virtual events. Can you talk a little bit about what's going to make the Fresh event the freshest?
Yeah. So Social Fresh, back in June, I spent probably 40 to 80 hours researching virtual event platforms to make sure we got it right. And I think we roughly reviewed 100 options and narrowed it down to 5 and ended up going with Hopin, Hopin. And we'll also be using Hopin again for our December conference, December 8th and 10th. It's, I think the solution is very specific to the type of event you're trying to produce. It's also very similar to, if you're doing an in-person conference, searching for the venue is the first step, whether it's at a hotel or a movie theater or a conference center, whatever it is, that's your first step. Cause then you get the dates from that, everything follows, you get your tech stack from that, what you can do with lighting, video, staging, all of that. It's very similar to find the right platform. Hopin's great. Hopin has a very affordable intro level. That's $100 per month per user for yourself. And I think that's good for up to like 500 attendees. Very user-friendly. It almost for me looks like it's going to be like the Eventbrite of virtual events, meaning
Interesting.
like most people can use it, but it also has some deeper feature sets. And, you know, there's a lot of trade-offs. There's some of these more, you know, enterprise level virtual platforms that have been around for 5 or 10 years are very difficult to use. They look like they've been around for 5 or 10 years, and they have a lot of features that are, you know, for that one enterprise customer that has been paying them for 10 years, right? That you can't really figure out because it wasn't built for you. But, you know, Hopin, one of the things that I really like is that it's easy for a user to jump in. It's easy for a user to figure out the live chat. It's kind of, there's this Twitch effect in live events, I think, where the community really lives in the chat. And that's something we've leaned into, and we're doing some specific things to make that chat even more valuable for our live conference and build that community around it. And I think they do that pretty well.
That's one real hallmark of your event. And I've been at 2 or 3 of them. I forget, 2, I think. Your event is different insofar as when people say they want community or they want to nurture community, all that, they say that the way an event person wants to make sure they make their revenue. And by the way, they've set up some couches somewhere, but that's a really important part of how you've done your events. I mean, my heart sticks with it because, you know, I want to linger and be in that group of people as long as I can because of the way you've done it. It's hard to do that virtually. And I know that you must both be, you know, you and Nicole have just been saying to yourselves, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Do you have secrets about this yet? Is there, you know, is it, we just have to use what we have, or like what you're thinking?
Yeah. Well, one thing we did that was, I'll give you two examples of what we're doing. One thing that we did in June for our speaker happy hour, and I think you were on this call, is we did a scavenger hunt game. And I think games are really useful. You can't do them at scale. You can't do them for 500 people, but you can do them for 20 to 40 people. So we're going to build in some element of that. It won't be a scavenger hunt, but it'll be some type of game element in one of the networking spots. And I've got some ideas of how we can do that and actually have it scaled to all the people that want to attend. And that wasn't on Hopin, that was on Zoom, because Zoom is better at those things. Zoom is better at kind of group networking, where a bunch of people are logged in, right? Right. So being flexible with the platform, having kind of standout solutions, I think is useful. And then the second piece is just, you know, paying attention to user behavior and what they really like and what they don't like. So for instance, speed networking, I think we had a video speed networking where you get matched up one-on-one. I think that was a challenge for people, but I also think there's some kind of technical challenges to overcome with that, whether you're doing it in Zoom or Hopin or something else. So fixing the elements that are the technical barriers to that are important, but also I think having multiple networking opportunities when it comes to virtual, so that the type of person you are has a solution to how you want to network. So if that's speed networking, you're comfortable with that, we'll have that. If that's live chat because you don't like being on video, we'll have that. If it's a group networking scenario, if it's a breakout group where you discuss one specific topic with a moderator, we're looking into all that and incorporating as many of those options as possible. And I think that's an important part. Again, the live chat was much more successful than I thought it would be for our first virtual conference in June. So we're definitely going to optimize that as best we can. So much so that we're pre-recording our solo presentations so that the speakers can take part in the live chat while the presentation's going on, and then do a live Q&A after. And you get more questions answered during a virtual conference session because people are, you know, the audience is answering questions from other attendees as the event's going, right? There's this community element that gets incorporated that's really kind of a special, again, virtual only, that you wouldn't get at a regular in-person conference. So leaning into that unique value prop.
It's so I've been at a lot of events like a lot of people have over the summer. On one side, I've been on the speaker side of it. On the other side, I've been, attending. I went to, when you said we're going to do, the virtual happy hour or whatever, I made faces because I was like, you know what? I've done a bunch of these and they suck. They're the worst. I never want to do the only part I want to do with them is the liquor part. And that's the part that people kind of try not to do when they're on them. Yours was so fun. I'm trying to think of various parts, but like Jess Tyson running around with her kid, trying to get things to be fastest to the answers. And I was thrilled about that. The other thing was, and I wanted to, I almost forgot to make the comment. Hi, Larry. I guess I don't. Larry was our guest earlier today on the Backpack Show. The other thing I was going to say about this is you would think that making people jump platforms, you would bleed out like so many platform people. Like they would all just like, forget it. I'm not going to another platform. Go to hell. They close their laptop and the day is done. But they don't. People come to it. And that's the nature of you and what you've built for a community. But it's really definitely the engagement's there, which is why I threw the question. Chloe said, that's the fun part of virtual. It feels more engaging because of the interaction in the chat and so many connections are made. When you said that, like, we're having our speakers record there so that they can talk live. I thought, oh, because I would have done both. Like I would have typed and talked, but I know that that's not probably
You're
typical.
A special animal though. Like
I'm a weird dude.
I learned this with our first virtual conference in June. I mean, we've done other virtual events and training before, but like this was our first big virtual conference. And there's this additional tech layer that's a tech support layer when it comes to virtual events when you're doing live solo presentations, meaning most people are not as advanced as you, Chris, when it comes to using the technology to present. So what happens is they have a PowerPoint or a Keynote file open full screen, sharing their screen, so they can't see the platform where the chat's going on, or they don't have, maybe they have 2 monitors, but they don't know how to set it up so that you could do something like that, right? So and also they're not able to see support messages from us if something goes wrong as easily. Even though we have plans for that, this person that's presenting becomes their own tech support person, right? They don't have a solution where I can run up and fix the mic for them on stage like you do at a live conference, right? So the pre-record has a lot of benefits. I think, it's a very specific choice, and not every event it's going to be right for. But I think, you gain a lot with that, and you gain a lot that benefits the audience, where you're removing tech obstacles that challenge them for the audience to actually get to the content, and you're giving them more interaction with the speaker in the long term.
The payload is just far and away better. And it's, I was just writing an article for Bank of America about this, about, we think that going live limits you to just the one, or, using video limits you to just go live or just edit. But that's the beauty. I mean, someone who makes this presentation home, this production, it could just be as easy as turning on the video and then turning off the video, or they can mix in some visuals. They can kind of get a little clever and make it happen. So it's definitely worth checking out. This event is December 8th through the 10th. It is available online. You can go to, I'm pushing so many buttons at the same time right now. So you can see my CPU going down in my head. I'm not talking. cbrogan.me/fresh takes you right there. That gets you to the pricing. And there is, again, there's the price. And then there's, if you can prove you're really poor, then they'll be nice to you. That's my
also for the first time we're doing a payment plan, so people can pay once a month for 4 months
in installments.
Yeah, which
that's awesome.
A lot of people are taking advantage of that, and I'm glad to see it's helping folks.
Super good. So Trisha's asking a question that maybe she could learn coming to Social Fresh, by the way. For a newbie live streaming like me, any top tips? And I would say, yeah.
Chris, you have probably a ton more tips than I do. I will say we have 2 workshops, one from Brian Fonzo talking about live events, and one from Chris Brogan from our June event talking about a lot of things that are useful for business when it comes to copy and messaging around all kinds of video tactics. And then actually one other by Jess Ostroff about doing webinars. And these are all pre-recorded. You can get access to them today if you buy your ticket in the back end. And all of those are kind of pieces of it. I would say specifically for me, finding an easy platform. Number one, today, Chris is using StreamYard, which he introduced me to, and I think we're going to utilize quite a bit for a few things. But Zoom to Facebook Live is a really easy option that we've helped a lot of businesses learn. And there's a ton of resources around Zoom to Facebook Live as an option. So I think that's a really useful kind of direction for people to think. But also StreamYard is way easier than I expected it to be. And a lot of people could jump into their free product and play around with it.
It's really amazing because you can do things like make it look like a full show, like what we did. So you can come to see Social Fresh. It is really a valuable and important thing. But listen, there's no reason I need to bother bringing somebody like Jason Keath around here if it's not worth it. And this event is, I mean, we've had some industry events over the years. Like, if this were 2008, I would say I'd be saying this about Gnome Decks. There's been some events where you had to be there, and if you don't go there, you're going to miss. And I think with Social Fresh, if you have any kind of foot in the water of social technology, digital marketing, online, anything, this is really the thing to go to. So I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to say go to cbrogan.me/fresh and get over there and get the show. And last comment goes to Trisha, which is just that I'm a small business owner, and it's like a baptism by fire just about a proper webcam. Good job, by the way. Now get a mic, because your camera is one thing, but if you sound stupid, it's not any good. Jason has an incredible blue snowball. I have the blue Yeti. We'll set you up with a mic, Trisha. You'll be so much happier about your life. Go to cbrogan.me/fresh to go to the show. Jason Keath, thanks for swinging by and letting me have a chance to, pick your brain about this. I wanted to know so much about your show, and now I do.
Yeah, anytime. Always happy to chat.